Então, boa tarde a todos e muito obrigada por estarem aqui para debater este tema tão importante que é a saúde digital e nomeadamente o impacto da saúde digital na profissão farmacêutica. Quero antes de mais também agradecer à doutora Sónia por estar aqui e por mais uma vez conseguirmos fazer uma atividade em conjunto com a Alumni FFUP e com a AEFFUP e trabalhar temas tão importantes e tão necessários de se trabalharem. Pronto, só para dar a nota de que a sessão será decorrida em inglês, porque temos também aqui um dos nossos oradores à distância, o Dr. Lars, e portanto é isso, vamos então dar início.
Welcome everyone to another event organized together with the Students Association, and a warm welcome and thank you as well to our speakers. One of our main goals is to promote the networking between professionals and the former students of this faculty and the students, future pharmacists and our future colleagues as well. And we believe that by reinforcing this relationship between the university and the profession and promoting the debate on topics relevant to the professional practice, we believe we can also contribute to the evolution of our own role as a pharmacist in the different professional areas. And we believe as well that we can show that a pharmacist has the skills and the qualifications to add value in different fields of knowledge, fostering the evolution of the healthcare systems towards a more inclusive access to health, driven not only by quality of life, but also well-being goals, and to be prepared as well to support a new generation of patients. Because as we all know, many of our patients nowadays already born with a mobile phone on their hands. So we also need to adapt. And that's why we are here today to discuss digital health and the impact on the pharmacist profession. The digital technologies and technological innovation are shaping professional practice in different fields of activity. It can increase competition. It changes as well our relationship with patients and with the other health professionals. It is a challenge, but as well as an opportunity to evolve and reinforce our role as a pharmacist. So our speakers today that highly experienced in the digital health field in different areas will debate the trends, challenge, and share their own experience as well on the role of the digital technologies in shaping patient care and healthcare systems. And today with us we have Lars, and sorry Lars if I don't spell it properly, Lars Ack Sutherland, Vice President of the Pharmaceutical International Federation, Elísio Costa, that you all know, and I must say that I'm very proud to know that the Faculty of Pharmacy is leading the University of Porto work on the field of health and active aging. So congratulations. And digital health, and is the director of the Competence Center on Aging of the University of Porto, and José Mendes, a former student of this faculty, that is the commercial director of Novcare. So welcome all, and thank you for your availability as well. You want to...
So first of all, we will start with a question for the speakers, and you all have 5 minutes to answer, and then we will begin with a round of questions directed to each and every one of the speakers, and then we will open the questions for the audience in the room, and also for the people that are with us in the Zoom. So we may start.
The first is not a question. We ask all our speakers to identify digital health trends with impact on the different fields of the pharmaceutical profession activity. Of course, they will also highlight the experience that they have on their own field of knowledge and experience. And I will ask, I ask Lars to start to give also the professional, the international perspective to share with us your thoughts around this topic.
Thank you so very much, Sonia. It is indeed a great honor and a great pleasure to participate in this panel discussion, and also with such prestigious and experienced speakers here as Eliseo Costa and Jose Mendez. So thank you so very much for this kind invitation. Well, looking into the future, I think we can already today see how drastically different the pharmacy sector actually will be from what it is today. We know that we have enormous amounts of data sets that can be linked through devices and connected to the Internet of Things, quantum computing, and also algorithms stored in the cloud, which may lead to instant diagnosis and understanding that become part of our everyday lives and can be shared among healthcare providers as well. We can see clinical research, accelerated digital medicines, nutraceuticals is a coming area, implants, gene editing, and also programmable microorganisms that can take place of treatments that are centered on chemical and biological remedies. So community pharmacies, for example, might be transformed into integrated healthcare destinations with product dispensation altered by, for example, 3D printing, telemedicine, kiosks that we see a very fast development of in China, for example, primary healthcare kiosks on the streets where you actually connect with artificial intelligence with experts all over the world, and where you can get your dispensed medicine just outside the kiosk on the street. So very strong development. And also we can see already driverless cars, drones, and automated robots. So the future of pharmacy might be involving the competition perhaps between human expertise and technological advancements. And pharmacists might simply get everything through a message over a related computer system or app, where the patient's medical history is already noted, rather than obtaining a prescription and then calling the doctor to check if everything is all right, okay, etc. So this will shorten the procedure considerably and make it even more efficient. So by delivering high quality services in short amount of time, robotic automation can help the healthcare system and pharmacy, both in community and hospital pharmacy, of course. I think as such that the pharmacist will be even more accessible to counsel, consult, and listen to the patient. And for example, digital therapeutics are also anticipated to be used in conjunction with more conventional pharmaceutical treatments as medicines become increasingly digital. And we can see that technology advancements, they can significantly assist pharmacists in order to extend their capabilities as health consultants or health experts, instead of counting pills and distributing these pills or medicines. So it will be fascinating to observe how new artificial intelligence powered robots and softwares will actually change the pharmacies in the future. And as such, I would like to highlight 3 pharmacy trends that will create the paradigm shift, according to my opinion, and also driving the transformation. And it is the shift from dispensing to providing clinical services. And in the future, or already tomorrow, pharmacists will play an even more important role of optimizing patient care and elevating community wellness. The second one is the shift to digital operations and direct-to-consumer models. We know that in a tech-enabled pharmacy, pharmacists can spend more time in engaging with patients rather than doing administrative work. And we saw that the pandemic pushed pharmacists to build or enhance their digital infrastructure by investing in technologies such as digital messaging, online appointment scheduling, and self-service kiosks. And at the same time, consumers or customers are increasingly demanding a more convenient experience that are delivered via omni-channel approach and don't require them to leave their home. And the third one is the shift from delivering treatments to offering whole person care. And the pandemic shed light on many disparities in healthcare, leading to a stronger focus on health equity. And while payers, providers, and even pharmaceutical companies are introducing initiatives to address health disparities, pharmacies are closer to communities, making it easier for them to provide a more equitable care. So pharmacies are shifting from condition-oriented treatments to whole person care, implementing strategies like offering free health screenings paid by the healthcare system, collaborating with other providers and stakeholders to improve outcomes, and providing telehealth services. And given the fast evolution of artificial intelligence and robotics, the future pharmacy will likely be quite different from what it is today. Pharmacists of the future will be not dispensing so much medicines, more like including digital health tools, implants, work with nutraceuticals, and deliver at-home testing kits. And by 2030, I think that the majority of pharmacists will actually transition from transactional care to relationships and responsibilities in advancing patient care. I think I stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Now I give the word to Elisio to provide as well your initial thoughts, and hopefully the different perspectives will also promote the debate between our speakers. And feel free to also to intervene and ask questions and comment the interventions.
So, first of all, I want to thank the opportunity to be here and to congratulations for this initiative, because in fact, this is a very, very important subject for the future that we need to think, because in fact, and I'm coming from other meeting in which we are discussing the skills for the future. And in fact, we don't know exactly what are kind of skills we need in the future. But for sure, we are facing to digital transformation in all sectors of activity. And for sure, health is one of them. And the health sector is the one that has more delay in the implementation of this digital transformation. So because of regulatory and a lot of things that are putting this transformation of health with some delay. And this digital transformation of health and care is a reality. So we can tell that we don't agree with that in the past was the best, but in fact, we are in this digital transformation and we need to go through this. And looking for the pharmaceutical professionals, I must tell one thing. I'm in a lot of engaged in a lot of networks and consortiums related with this field, with digital health. And honestly, it's very, very hard to find a pharmacist there. So I think that the pharmacists need to be more engaged on this field and to be more enrolled in consortium, in the policies and in advocacy on this field. And I must tell you, I'm not a pharmacist, and I'm looking for this in outside of this. And I think that one of the health professionals, that the way of work go to change more is the pharmacist. Because honestly, and to be a little provocative, do not make sense anymore that I go to a pharmacy and there is a person there that bring me a box and tell me one or two advices about this medicine. This is a work that could be done in a very easy way by a robot. So, and I fully agree with Lars, and probably we need to move the work or pharmacist work from a dispensing work to a more integrated healthcare provider. We need to be integrated and more to have a role on the management of the disease prevention also and management of disease. And for that, they need to be engaged in the development of these digital solutions. Taking this first point, because for me this is very, very important and we need to think on it, okay? I think mainly, and Lars talked and refer most of the topics that pharmacists should be enrolled and what kind of role in this digital health field. But I want to add one or two more. I want to add digital biomarkers, the development of digital biomarkers, because in fact, we are moving very, very fast for the validation of these new digital biomarkers. What is a digital biomarker? And I could give you an example. For instance, I have a person in my house that is with a disease that cannot come out of house. If I have somebody that go to take care of this person all the days, and she put a very simple, if she responds to a very simple question, how is the patient today? Okay, in a scale of 0 and 5. And if this person put their opinion all the days, we can see this can be a digital biomarker. In fact, I'm not inventing this because we run in a group that I'm also part of. We run a pilot with this simple tool and with only this question, and we have been able to identify along 1 year 2 patients that become in an acute situation, and we have been able to do the diagnosis, not the diagnosis, but we have the chance of take this in attention and advise the patient to go to the medical doctor. And in fact, yeah. So this is digital biomarkers for me is also an important point to be addressed also for the pharmacist. I have here helped the customers to develop medical to choose to identify the best health apps to use, because in fact the pharmacist is the healthcare professional that they are more close to the patients, and you know, in every small village we have a pharmacy. So this is very, very important, and the role of pharmacists is very important for the future. Of course, I have here also to prescribe digital therapeutics. This is an area that is growing a lot at this point, and I think that the pharmacists could have a very, very important role developing these digital therapeutics, but also prescribing these digital therapeutics. And more, and finally, I think will be very, very important the role of pharmacists and, you know, in a way, all healthcare professionals to in terms of ethical and regulatory ways, regulatory, because in fact, and this is now when we look for artificial intelligence algorithms that are under development in all places, and most of the times we do not know what is in the black box. Okay, and honestly, when we look for these tools, if these tools are used in a bad way, they can be very, very bad for humanity or for the people. So, and I think for the future, we need to invest a lot on these ethical and regulatory aspects. And for sure, the pharmacist has a lot of expertise on it. So this is just to.
So now I will ask Dr. José Mendes the same question, and you can give us some ideas, some thoughts about the topic.
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be back to my alma mater. Not this building, because I haven't studied here, and the old building I did. And I'm really happy to see that there is interest in the pharmaceutical world and students and old students from Porto, at least, that there is interest in digital health. Looking at the world, we see some mega trends that I think we all know this, but it's also important to focus again that population is growing worldwide, but also population is getting older, especially in rich countries. This means that there's going to be a shortage of professionals, healthcare professionals. We can see this now with some medical specialties, for instance, but also with pharmacists. There's a reason why so many Portuguese pharmacists immigrate, for instance, for Norway. There is a symmetry of pharmacy, I would say, demand and also offer, if you want to put it in economic aspects. And probably this is the reason why I believe that the legacy that we have on the digital health not being so strong. I mean, the digital transformation in health is not so deep as in other sectors. Has here a huge factor to promote it now. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the healthcare system. I work in healthcare, so my experience is not as broad as Elisius or someone that, like Dr. Lars, that works with looking at the entire sector. So what I would like to share with you is that digital health is a huge world. There's so many things going on. We can be talking about access improvement, better diagnose, better treatments because they are much more personalized. But what I do every day is look more into the access part of the problem, how we can improve access, geographical and not only, because nowadays we see a lot of demand from hospitals, for instance, that is not necessary. Digital health as a way to deal with this, to drive the patients to the best suited service they need with the lowest cost possible. So it's also not only access, but also efficiency. And I'm saying really broad things about this issue because they are really important stuff that we need to think in the first place. Why do we need digital health? It's not because only it's cool and it's modern. It's because it solves problems that are actually very important, very big, very painful when it comes to the economic issues and the health access issues. So there is really a way to do it. Elise was saying that the pharmacists are a central piece in the patient journeys every day. And especially where I come from, patient journey is a very important issue. That's what we do. We do that especially with telemedicine, but not only with telemedicine, with other tools to collect data and to give the healthcare professionals superpowers that help them to solve more and more problems in a very efficient way. And by some reason, in the last 2 weeks, I've been having a lot of commercial meetings with pharmacists that are interested to create these new models in Portugal, in France, in Brazil, in the Netherlands. And actually nowadays, we look at some countries where this is already a reality, giving pharmacists the possibility to build their own patient journeys, to engage patients in focusing the continuity of care. I think that as a trend, and not looking for a very distant future, I would say, and I would stress that probably this is the first step we can make to to take advantage of digital health transformation that's happening nowadays, and to involve more the pharmacists with their patients, with their community as well, and to give more access and more efficiency to the system.
Sorry, just a reminder to the people online, can you please mute your microphones if you are not intervening? This is a common warning nowadays. So thank you, José. Now we have a second round of questions, but if you allow me, I already have some touching points that I would like to address, so I will forget the guide that we share. And you mentioned the ethics and the regulation as well, but there is also another aspect that I think we all need to address, especially as health professionals, and this is something that I'm sure all the speakers can comment on, because we also need to address, when we talk about the digital health, we need, one of the goals is to be closer to the patient, to provide more personalized care, but we also need to address the access to digital technologies, especially smartphones. And when we are talking about elderly, the population, also about digital literacy, that is actually a barrier to increase the scope of the use of digital technologies in healthcare service. I'm sure that you have many thoughts and ideas to share about how we can overcome this barrier, to work with the patients as well, and where the pharmacies can help as well to support and increase not only the digital literacy, but make sure that the access to care is still equitable.
Okay, let me talk. I don't like to talk about digital literacy, and I like to talk about digital health literacy. Okay, because in fact, this is a big problem, not only for Portugal, but at European level. You know that 33% of the European population with more than 55 years old never touched a computer, have never touched a computer. So we have 33% of our population, European population, and to be honest with you, in Portugal, the numbers are high. The number that I have in my brain because is 45% in Portugal, and this is in fact a huge problem to the implementation of these digital health solutions. I must tell that one of the big, you know, I'm also coordinating the activities of IT health here in the Porto region. And one of the big problems that SMEs and startups are faced to, this, I'm talking about SMEs and startups that are related with health and digital health, is about adoption. In fact, there is a huge problem in the adoption of the solutions because the citizens do not have digital health skills. They don't have confidence on these new tools. But when we look for the healthcare professionals, they have also a problem in this implementation because our healthcare professionals, they don't have also the digital health skills. So what happened here is that our healthcare professionals do not prescribe or recommend these solutions, and also they don't use them. So this is a huge problem. And in terms of what we can do. Of course, universities have the responsibility of to give these skills to the professionals. Okay, this is something that we need to include in our curriculum, and of course, we need to improve the digital skills of the population as a whole. Okay, and this needs to be done in a more spread way, in a more global way. And to be honest with you, this is a big challenge for the future, how to improve these digital skills for this population.
And before I ask Lars to intervene, I will ask José Mendes, as a health professional, a pharmacist working in the digital technologies, how you see as well this part, how we can overcome this barrier that is also the digital health literacy of the health professionals.
Okay, so I think the issue, Elise, it in a very clear way. I think there's a burden to be carried from the startups and the SMEs that develop these digital health solutions, and they should be nowadays the first one to take the step to help everyone to have better access to these tools and to make sure that digital health literacy is not a barrier to access. I can talk about some solutions because there are some solutions for some specific technologies at least, but I think they should be the first ones to make sure that, for instance, the healthcare professionals that have access to the public know how to work with those technologies, and they have to be simple. I think this should be a rule on digital health tools. They should be simple. When you look at the framework that is too complex, not even the healthcare professional will be able to navigate those sort of tools. But looking at the elder population, or the population with lower access to computers and to smartphones, or to whatever tools there are needed to access these digital health tools as well, I think that healthcare professionals should take the front, also helping them on their daily basis. And pharmacists here have an especially unique opportunity to do so. As we were speaking in the beginning, the pharmacist is probably one of the most important professionals, as he works he has a pivot role on the healthcare system. He is many times is the first step to enter the healthcare system, and many times, maybe most of the times, is also the exit door, because that's where you get your therapy to go home and start your treatment. So there is a lot of touch points where a pharmacist can act on also educating the population with the tools that are necessary for his treatment or her treatment. Also, I would like to share some experience that we are making, because we are working in Portugal and Europe, but also in Latin America, and the access to healthcare is particularly low on those countries. We have some very interesting experiences in Brazil with the public healthcare system, where we are focusing on helping the municipalities to give extra access to health. São Paulo usually has all the specialties and all the doctors, and if you go to the interior side of Minas Gerais, for instance, you won't find nothing else than maybe a general practitioner. So, and usually we are talking about really deep rural areas where people don't use smartphones. They don't have even a smartphone network to work with a smartphone, so it's pretty useless to have one. So what we are doing there is we are building point-of-care units where you have some healthcare professionals such as pharmacists and nurses that are easier to find in those locations to help the population navigate those tools. And in the meanwhile, while we educate our population in a broader level and give more access to technology to the population, we are finding these middle-term, middle-of-the-road solutions to help overcome this barrier. That's something I think that That's why I say this is a burden to be carried by all stakeholders, not only from the population, also from the healthcare professionals. The universities, of course, have a huge role to play, but that's something that's going to take a long time to happen. So in the meanwhile, we have to find easier solutions and faster solutions to implement.
And Lars, finally, as well, the international perspective, and I would like to ask you as well to address the green sustainability issue. One of the main proposals that is being discussed at the international level is to evolve to the electronic leaflet. This creates an additional barrier as well in the context of the elderly population, because they do not have access, or many of them do not have access to digital technologies, or do not understand how to deal with that. So how can as well the pharmacies, and if you can share as well some international experience, how can we address the digital transformation and evolution for the electronic leaflet and other kind of tools when we need to know that we need to make sure that the patients understand how to take their medicines and how to follow their therapeutical regimes.
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, overall, I think that linked to the previous comments from our panelists, collaboration is key, and we need to involve all stakeholders. And we know that we have a very fast development of technology and digital tools within healthcare and pharmacy, but still there are many barriers that need to be covered. Linked to your last question, actually I was recently in Taiwan, and they offer digital leaflets to patients in their community pharmacies. So the patient scan the QR code and get the information, but if they can't do it, actually the pharmacist is of course there to help. So the idea is that no one should leave without knowing what is written in the leaflet and getting the advice from the pharmacist. But this is also linked to how digitally enabled is the population of the country and the country as such. And I think there are several barriers for digital health implementation. One is, for example, access to technology. In the Western world, we think we are pretty well developed anyway, but actually 25% of the Western world population lack connection to broadband or fiber to internet, which actually is important to use the mobile health technology. And this gap is even more dramatic for low-income populations and people also that are living in rural areas. While at the same time, digital or remote counseling, etc., offers opportunity for approaching these patients. But I would also say that up to 30% of the Western population actually doesn't have a smartphone. And we know that the smartphone can do a lot today compared to what it could do a couple of years ago. And that means that they haven't access to different devices, apps, etc. The second one is that digital and digital health literacy, both for health consumers and providers, is very important. Many health consumers lack digital skills, and some of them also need assistance when setting up an email account only. And also healthcare staff are not so experienced in digital tools, etc. yet. And then we have the workflow integration. It is clear that if digital health tools are to provide, you can say, optimum performance, and we can use all the data, it must be designed to fit a specific context in which it will be used. There are several examples of technology and products that are great, but they are not actually designed to be implemented in an existing clinical workflow, and then it actually doesn't bring the value that it could do. The third one is change management. I think implementation of new digital tools, including artificial intelligence or machine learning solutions, require a systematic change management process. And many healthcare organizations still face significant challenges in this space, I would say. we have some good examples. Actually, on a country level, one very interesting example is Rwanda in Africa. Rwanda is considered to be one of the 10 most advanced nations when it comes to digital health. And actually, by offering or making it possible for the population to buy smartphones, they actually got access to public health by their smartphones, but at the same time as pharmacies deliver the medicines via drones in the rural areas. So they actually have a very smart strategy where they actually designed it from the beginning with all stakeholders. And we actually will have a presentation about this at the upcoming FIP Congress in Brisbane. And the last one is, I think, privacy and security. There is no doubt that the most valuable asset for a patient is his or her personal health data. And in many countries, we have laws and regulations to provide data privacy and security for digital health and to prevent health records being misused and stolen. Many countries don't have it. And when it comes to the apps, for example, most apps are not regulated in any country. So people use them, provide a lot of data, but actually they don't know who takes the data. Thank you.
So now that we have seen some points of view from our speakers and that we have also started the discussion, it's time for you to make the questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand here or via Zoom and you can make the question. Okay, so Ines.
Data protection and privacy. Okay, my question is about data protection and privacy. And it's what lines we cross and how can we protect our patient during this process?
I will just repeat the question for those in Zoom. So Ines asked about data protection and the privacy of the patients with the digital technologies.
Maybe we can start with Lars, that he just addressed this point as well.
Yes, I think this is a key issue. We know, for example, that medical identity theft is already a multi-billion problem, for example, in the United States. And it can also be a life-threatening factor because people can use that data as they want. I mean, those criminals. So it's very important to have a regulation that gives the patient maximum security and privacy, because actually the patient is the owner of his or her patient data. So I think that's a really important thing. Unfortunately, I think that overall, also when it comes to digitalization, also linked to how pharmacists actually work in the digital field, regulators are lagging behind because the development is so fast. But I think here that the pharmacists have a very important role to highlight these issues and be the advocate for the patient, I would say.
Alicia?
I fully agree what Lars tells. Of course, the data, the owners of the data is the patient. But completely, we need to regulate. But I think we don't need to have so many ways of sharing our data. I think this is a balance between secure measurements and also the patient, because in fact I don't have any kind of problem to share my health data. Okay, I have a box in my process that is closed to everyone, but so we need the data. Okay, because all this development is based on data. So if we create rules very difficult to pass through, will be obstacle to the development of new technology. For sure, we need to be attention to this, because the patient needs to give authorization for the use of his data. And because data is a business at this point. Do you know how the the UK government win each year with the healthcare system data from UK? 20,000 millions of euros of
Pounds.
okay, so this is a huge amount of money related with health data, but UK has 4 research centers only dedicated to analyze the health data, health records coming from the records. So, okay, we need to be careful, but not to be so too much.
I totally agree. I think the bigger threat here is not having data. Development of new tools and even the implementation of tools needs data. If you want to use digital health tools to be preventative or even to predict the outcomes of the patients and the way we health their health and their diseases based on acting faster or acting before something happens, that's only going to be possible because we collect data. We need to be careful with how we do it. But luckily, there are tools already in place that can be used to do so. When we talk about privacy, luckily, we live in Europe. Sometimes that's good. We have the GDPR. And probably that's, if you're choosing someone to work with that is compliant with the GDPR, I think that's the first step to be ensuring that there's going to be some nice politics concerning data utilization and data treatment and data storage. Also, some companies are starting to look at some certifications like ISO 27001. That's probably the best compliance certification you can have nowadays for data security. And if you need a tool that does so, you can talk to me. I can sell it to you later. Because this is a really serious issue, of course, to help. We work, for instance, with providers and big players such as insurers. So compliance is something very, very important for those stakeholders. And that's why I also agree with Dr. Lars that we as healthcare providers and also we should be the best regulators in the day-to-day life by advocating for the best apps or for the best tools, and also ensuring that the tools we work with, they have this care with data protection and with data security. But in the end, no data is worse than a lot of data that we don't know what's happening there.
And I think we can all realize that we give data to pretty much everyone nowadays, and we don't have this type of concerns, or at least the majority of people don't have it. But when it comes to discussions about access to health data, is always a very controversial topic.
Sonia, can I just give a short comment? We often talk about digital health and digital healthcare, but I think we need to remind ourselves that digital healthcare is a broad, you can say, multidisciplinary concept that includes concepts from an intersection between technology, healthcare. It's about mHealth apps, electronic health records, electronic medical records, wearable devices, telehealth and telemedicine and telepharmacy, personalized medicine. So there are many different areas within the umbrella of digital health or digital healthcare.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. That's true. And just a comment for the future pharmacists is also you all have a huge number of new fields of activity related to digital health, at regulation, reimbursement, innovation. So I hope you can also learn with the experience that are being shared today. Because pharmacy and the pharmacy profession is much more than the traditional areas as we can see today. So more questions from the audience, online comments. Okay, so first let's be first the students and then the professionals. Go ahead, please.
It's more direct to Professor Luizio, but how can individual health contribute to promoting healthy and active aging? Like, how are the main challenges and opportunities on that?
Oh, it's a very good question for me. So, and is usually what I'm talking more about. In fact, what we have at this moment, we have a population that. No, let's stop. So we are facing to drastic transformation in our age pyramid. And we have now at this point a lot of old population in Portugal. 23% of our population has more than 65 years old. So we are living more. We are faced to a longevity. We increase in longevity. So. And this is something very good for money, okay? Is what we expect. We want to live more years, but as in the world, you know, everything that is good, we need to pay a price. So, and the price that we pay for living more is to live with chronic disease. And so, is something that we need to manage. So, with 65 years old, with 65 years old or more, at least 50% of the people has 2 chronic diseases, not 1. Okay, so this is the price. And what happened with this? The costs associated with treatment of this population is going up. Okay, and the government, the healthcare system have no capacity to manage this. So the only way to go is to reduce the cost of care. And we need to develop new models of care, more efficient. Okay? So, and for that is digital. Is the only way to go ahead and to reduce the costs, and in the same way the people have some kind of care. Okay, and this is an opportunity and more, and we are at this point in Portugal living this is about professionals. We don't have professionals to take care of this population. To be honest with you, I have been in Algarve and I talked with the director of the social care there. And what she told me is that if we don't have at this point immigrants, we have the need of course some of the nursing homes. Okay, because if we don't have immigrants, we don't have people to take care of our government. So this is the only way to go ahead.
Dr. Lars has a comment on this, so you can speak now.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to add that the use of data is extremely important. And finally, now we have the opportunity to use all the data we have acquired over the years. And it is correct that what our speaker in the panel says, we are lacking healthcare professionals. I often ask the politicians in Sweden, because we are facing a lack of healthcare professionals, about 400,000 people the next 3 years. And I say to them, where do they come from? And actually they say, well, we don't have any idea. They haven't even reflected over the problem. And they say that digital healthcare will solve everything. But that is not the truth, because we will always need the kind of healthcare infrastructure that we have today. But of course, data can help us a lot, because as we heard, we have chronic diseases. And just taking an example, a man who is 60 years old, he is obese, he is drinking alcohol, and he is smoking a lot of cigarettes. Actually, by using the data and artificial intelligence, we can predict that by the age of 70, he will actually suffer from a stroke. So by changing the lifestyle habits, thanks to the data we can analyze, we can actually give him a better life, a better quality of life, and also at the same time save a lot of money for our healthcare systems. Because one of the key words for the future, although it's about collaboration and etc., is prevention. We need to prevent diseases from occurring. It includes vaccination, but it includes also changing lifestyle habits. Well, that was my comment.
I would just like to stress something that, and illustrate something that Elisio was saying. We have done at NOG some projects with elderly care homes. There's a problem with elder care homes and residencies in Portugal, that they don't have doctors there. They have nurses, they have auxiliary personnel, but they maybe have a doctor 1 day per week, bi-weekly, luckily at least 1 time per month. Okay, so what happens when when anyone gets sick or has an acute episode? They're driving this person to the hospital. This means that there is 1 extra healthcare professional that is absent. There is increased price for the healthcare system, and even for the residency. And usually these acute episodes, they don't end up being people don't stay in the hospital, they go back to the residency. So it's just an acute care to handle something usually simple. With the project we have done, very similar to something that we were also discussing in the beginning of this debate, we were asking the healthcare professionals that take care of these people to tell us how they are feeling, but also we were trying to manage one particular disease, that was hypertension, which is the #1 risk factor for dying and for going to the hospital as well. So we were managing the blood pressure from these patients on a daily basis. We were preventing acute episodes because we were able to actually act faster and before there was a complication. Also, we were giving access to the healthcare professionals, nurses, especially that work in these places to appoint or to schedule a video consultation with a doctor in about an hour. So in the end, we were avoiding almost 80% of the hospital visits, and the only hospital visits that were happening were the ones that needed to happen, because the people that went to the hospital, they stayed there or they died, unfortunately. So there are some things that digital health tools will not avoid, but there is an efficiency that it brings to the process that is very, very important. We were changing interventions that cost around 200 euros for something that costs around 15 euros. You see the difference here is huge. So I think this is a great example on how you can take digital health tools to engage with elder people and how it has a very positive impact on their health as well.
And I would say on the sustainability as well of the healthcare system, the cost.
Yes, pharma to be spent
You
later.
have savings and you also can reduce the number of avoidable deaths and hospitalizations. So now the time of the professionals. Paulo Malta, please go ahead.
First of all, I really thank you for the presentation. And as you guys said, I will finish my course. So nowadays, I read our Alumni. So you rightly want to share little professional experience. Nowadays, I work as business consultant. So daily I work with a lot of pharmacists and pharmacists, good persons with a lot of knowledge, technical knowledge, scientific knowledge, but sometimes I find a little resistance to technology, because I think most of the time about that the technology is a bureaucratic instrument and not a partner instrument, right? So my question is, how we can change this mindset, and what is the role of the university in this point?
You want to
So, I like that question, because in fact, I think university needs to be a very, very important role, and is one of the big issues now at academic level. Okay, because universities, the development and the evolution of universities are very slow compared with the professional development. Okay, and this is more evident now, in which this digital transformation is running so fast and is accelerating each year, and universities are not follow the same direction and in the same speed. So universities, and I'm talking here not specifically for pharmacy, but as a whole, we need to invest in technology in education, because what happened at this point at university level, we continue with a traditional learning system, okay, in which we have the traditional lessons, and the learning process is not embedded in technology. And we need to push technology to the universities and to the classroom, okay? Because the mindset of the students need to change attitudes, to change the confidence, okay? And for that, we can only do this if we take technology, educative tools to the center of the learning process, okay? And if we don't do this in a short time, I think we are not preparing in the best way our professionals.
If you want to have.
Nice to see you. I think you're touching very strong and important issues here. And first, I have one good and bad news for those professionals. There's something called natural selection. And if they won't work with technology, they're going to be out in a very short time. I think the good news is that natural selection is a pressure process. So probably before they are out, they will change their minds. Looking at tech as a bureaucracy, I think that's because some of the big companies that are developing this technology, they are very complex, and they bring to the market very complex tools that are very hard to operate. I must stress that digital health tools must be very simple to put in place, both by professionals and also by the patients themselves. So again, I think there is a burden that must be handled by the tech industry and those that develop the technologies to make sure that they are really they're really simple to be used and to put in place. Also, when it comes to university, I really believe that the role is not to teach how to use technology, but to teach how to build new technology. I think that when we leave university, we must be creative enough and to understand enough what technology means, so we can bring new digital health tools to the market. I've been traveling in the last months and talking with people from different places, and I see that some countries are already doing this. People, when they are finishing college, they are building apps as their final exam. So I think that's something we should look also here in Portugal to do, not only in pharmacy faculties, but also in medicine faculties that are starting to do this. Faculdade de Medicina Universidade do Porto already has a data science master's that is really looking sharply into digital health, and they are bringing some new professionals into the market with a totally different vision and ability to build new stuff. I know some psychiatrists that are doing amazing things with something they've learned in YouTube just because they understand technology. So we need to mimic that.
So, Dr. Lars, if you have some comments, you can.
Yes, I agree with the previous speakers totally. And I think that as medication experts, we need to help to identify optimal treatment for patients across hospital, primary care, and community settings. And with much of digital health technologies involving, for example, artificial intelligence, we need to apply the same skill sets to evaluate the underlying algorithm, because if we don't do it, we will be lost. Someone else will do it for us. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw that virtual patient care practices and different models were actually part of education as well. And there is a need for pharmacists to adopt more digital services beyond telehealth visits in the, you can say, post-COVID era, and implement a digital competency framework among educators. As such, FFUP has actually these kind of tools available for everyone. We also did a global survey trying to look at how pharmacy schools offer digital education. And it was found that by many participants, they first couldn't define the difference between online education and digital health education. They thought it was the same, and actually it's not the same. And also challenges to offering digital health education were limited resources and availability of experts to guide them in the implementation. And despite these findings, there appeared to be promising trend. I would say that approximately half of the participants agreed that their school should be able to incorporate new digital health tools into the curricula as they emerge. And as such, I actually did attend a digital summit in USA 1.5 months ago in Phoenix, and the conclusion actually was, why we had academia present at the meeting, that, oh yeah, they were aware that we need to change the curriculum, but they try to avoid it as long as possible, because it will be consuming a lot of resources, a lot of work to develop programs, etc. So they try to avoid it as long as possible, but actually that will affect our future workforce, because the future is already now. And if our students are not digitally enabled for today's new environment, someone else will actually try to take our place. So I think it's extremely important to include digital health in the curriculum.
So now Dr. Luis Lourenço raised his hand, so if you want to talk.
Hi everyone. So first of all, hi to Lars, to Elisio, and also to Jose and to Sonia and Anna, of course. I'm here on behalf, well, partly as member of the EXCO of Alumni, but also as a member of the National Regulator of Pharmacists, the Ordem dos Farmacêuticos, and also together with Lars, a member of the AEFFUP Board of Officers. I'll just have a couple of questions, a couple of comments. I think that probably they will be relevant. Well, first and foremost, to inform you that I don't know if that was mentioned during the presentations because I had to leave for a couple of minutes, but at the European level, it's been doing a lot of work regarding the health data, the European health data space. And this is very relevant because we have this idea that can easily transfer the data, which is not actually true when it comes to health data, specifically at European level. And from my own experience, for instance, in Portugal, the idea that health data is also really accessible, that's also a myth. And we tend to think as pharmacists or pharmacists that work in community pharmacies, which are mostly, or overall, they are private sector institutions, that we don't have access to data because it's stuck on the public sector. But when we speak with our colleagues that work at the public sector, or even in other, for instance, in second care institutions like other private hospitals, it's the same. So right now we have physicians who do not have access to data which actually has been produced in hospitals, and the other way around. So just for you, all of us, to know that the future is here, but there's still a lot to be done. And that's very relevant because I think it'll be up to all of us to collect the data, which is the first step, and then prepare our systems to share it. The second talk will be related with this idea, and I think most of the presenters also cover this idea that everything looks like digital. So when it comes to digital education, does that has anything to do, partly or not, with having a webinar or having your classes being run online? So I think all this clarification is important because we tend to think that digitalization is the same thing as digital transformation, which is not actually the same. So I'm not an expert. I'm not actually here as an expert, but we're dealing a lot when you deal with regulation of the profession, that we deal with issues that we want to digitalize data, want to introduce everything in the system in a way that data is collected. But what we do with that data, that's something completely different. So just for you to have an idea, community pharmacists worldwide collect a lot of information regarding patient adherence or patient dispensing or even point of care information, and that's digitalization. But the thing is that from the patient point of view, that doesn't make that much change on their life, because there are few algorithms to actually go through that data and help the pharmacist to do a different intervention. Just to emphasize this second point of digital transformation. And the third part we have to do with ethical dilemmas, because Lars has mentioned that this is really interesting, this idea that we can actually predict, if you use the correct algorithm or the right information, that in a couple of years' time, a certain patient might have a certain health issue. The thing is that when it comes to the patient choice, it can actually say no to that. So it comes to the point that how will the health systems work? Will they reimburse the medication for this patient, refuse to change his lifestyle? Or for instance, you have a brand new technology or brand new service that actually relies on mobile. For instance, your prescription is going to be sent only online, for instance, through your mobile phone. Will that be fair for those who don't have access? All of these things actually need to be thought. My last point, and that's actually a challenge or a question, is that I do agree that it is very important to cover most of these issues, not only from the digital education point of view, but also from the digital health point of view, to have both issues covered during the undergraduate studies. But what I've seen over the years is that we put a lot of pressure on the undergraduate schools, and of course that they need to adapt. And probably I don't have data on this, neither digital or non-digital, that probably education hasn't suffered as many changes as other sectors, like for instance, and transports, or even even with health providing. But anyway, the thing is that I think probably it's very important to also, and that's the question, what other actors, what other players can actually play a role regarding this education, because we can't afford, first of all, to wait for the schools to actually have undergraduates trained for this, because we have a whole workforce just already practicing that actually need that information. And if not, well, I presume that that will be the answer. What sort of partners do you think will be relevant? Of course, they are the usual suspects, but I think probably should we think out of the box? So, do you need that there's something competencies that need to be done, for instance, abroad? Do we need to have some sort of regulation to or competency-based regulation to assess this? And sorry, just like last question. And it's important to at this sort of education to use the technology that we have or actually produce technology, because if you cover that, I think that's going to be very difficult if you go into a graduate study either in pharmaceutical science, in medical science, in any sort of science. But if you want to incorporate that at your undergraduate level, I think that would be very challenging, because and at the end, we'll just train ourselves to be pharmaceutical digitalizers. With that, take some of our expertise and unique expertise to actually have an added value on our intervention. So sorry for the long intervention, but yeah, this is a very thrilling topic for me. Just wanted to share all of this with you. Thank you.
Okay, so which one of you wants to start and reply to this challenging set of questions?
I can start by commenting upon some points. What actually Louise mentioned was actually pharmacists moving into population health analytics. And besides the clinical activities, pharmacists can move into analytical roles to identify health improvement opportunities, develop algorithms, and for clinical decision support and population health analytics, and also design programs that can improve population health. Actually, this is already a career in United States, where actually pharmacists work with these data for different health systems. Because as you know, USA doesn't have a national health system as we have in Portugal and in Sweden. You need to purchase, you can say, an insurance. And when the insurers like Kaiser Permanente or others see that your health data is very bad, they realize that this will cost us a lot of money. So they actually have a lots of incentives where the pharmacist is actually working with the patient in order to improve the health. Otherwise, if the patient says no, because they can say no, what they can expect the next day is a triple bill of their insurance, because they are then becoming such a high risk for this insurance company or health system. But I believe actually that it's very important that we move into digital health education in our universities, because it is a key pillar for the future of healthcare, and pharmacists can actually do a lot more than dispensing medicines. And by working with these tools, analytics, etc., we can actually contribute both to better life for the patient and also reducing the cost for the healthcare systems.
Want to comment?
Yeah, I fully agree with what Laura tells. And to be honest with you, I feel that at this point, and become a little provocative, that the pharmacists have two roles. Or the pharmacists are enrolled in all this process, these analytics, this data management, data analysis, and so on, or other professionals will take care of this. Because in fact, and there is a trend now for creation bachelors in science in digital health. This will be a new profession that, if the pharmacists don't take attention, very rapidly or in a very speed way, this bachelors in science in digital health will do the same of a pharmacist. So the professionals are moving, okay? They are the the start of new professions. So, and I think the pharmacy need to go in this direction and put all this digital health knowledge in their curriculum and become digital health leaders also. Because the things are moving too much fast. And I must tell you, this is secret, but University of Porto will go to open this pastoral site very soon. It's already approved.
So maybe answering the last part of Louis' intervention, especially who should who should train already in place healthcare professionals. First, I really agree with what he commented before. If we are waiting on universities, it's going to take a long time to replace the already in place working force. So the solution for those that are already working, it's probably divided. The responsibility should be split between different actors. The usual suspects, I think they are very important. I think we are talking here about Ordem and other professional regulators. They have mechanisms to promote training. For instance, you need to have training continuously in order to keep having access to your professional activity, and probably there's a way to put some conditions in place to make it happen, as also digital training as a mandatory or recommended at least. Also, I think there's market pressure that's going to help this transformation and also to help the already in place workforce to be the first one to look for that transformation and that training by themselves. There are health schools, not only undergraduate but also postgraduate schools that can help with this, and also the professional associations, not only the regulatories, but I'm thinking about Associação Nacional dos Farmácias, for instance. FFUP also has an important role in promoting this sort of training and preparation of the already in place workforce in pharmacies to adapt to these new technologies. Also, those that develop the tools and they sell the tools, they're the first ones to be interested in having the already in place workforce to be trained, because if people don't use it, they won't sell it. So there's also a responsibility here in those that develop the tools to train the pharmacists, the nurses, the doctors, and everyone.
I want to tell other things, because I think also we need to some way change the mindset, even to our students from pharmacy. Because in fact, we have here at this point in Faculty of Pharmacy, a curricular unit on digital health that I'm responsible. And honestly, we have students from all university, and the students that we have less is here from Faculty of Pharmacy. So we have students from psychology, from engineer, from university included, and coming from pharmacy here, the course of pharmacy, we have 1, 2 per year. So it's still important to change this mindset of even the student.
You can talk now, Dr. Lars, if you have a comment.
Yes, thank you so very much. Just a short comment. I totally agree with my colleagues in the panel. I just wanted to mention that we need to embrace the technology and this development of digital healthcare and digital pharmacy because it will actually give us the opportunity to work and use our competence in a much better way that we have done during the last year. Just take virtual reality, for example, you know, when you put on the glasses, etc. A fantastic tool to prevent medication errors among patients. You can use it for educational purposes. We will have a decision support system that will actually filter information, for example, in hospitals, and the algorithm will show it in a very context-sensitive manner, and allowing pharmacy and other healthcare professionals to make better use of their time. You can have, for example, hospital pharmacists' role in therapeutic drug monitoring, and we have personalized medicine where we use diagnostic and genomic data to separate patients into different groups. And we also have 3D printing. We have, as we heard earlier, that we are living longer, and that will actually also mean that we need to prevent our diseases, and, for example, do a lot of point of care testing at home. We use technology to interact, etc., just to reduce the costs and improve the quality of life for the patients. And when we have these digital health ecosystems, they will be interlinked with the Internet of Things, wellness, health, medical devices. So interoperability will be very important, and patients might be clustered in different networks, like urology network, diabetes network, clinical trial network, Parkinson network, etc. But we tailor make the care for the right setting, the right care provider, and the right patient at the time.
So we have time for one last question, if you want. Okay, Rita, you can ask the question.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is not specific to anyone. Do you think that healthcare digitalization will pull apart the professionals and the patients? And if so, do you think that's a negative aspect?
You can start.
I think digital transformation, when you think about it, and especially if you look into sci-fi, that's very cool. I think in reality, it's very human, because what it tries to bring is professionals and patients together in a closer relationship than before. What digital health allows you is to collect data to feed in that relationship between the patient and the healthcare professional overall, being it a pharmacist or any other healthcare professional. So definitely, the way that I see digital health happening is very human and bringing closer the patient and the healthcare professional every day, and even bringing together the healthcare professionals from different areas, because it's, even if we don't communicate live, we are able to communicate in how can I say it, not offline, but not in real time. You know what I mean? I mean, you can send me a notification, and I can act upon that notification and do something with the patient. And it's a lot easier. I don't know, I've started studying pharmacy in 2006, and communication between different healthcare professionals was an issue. I think nowadays it's still an issue, and maybe in the next 20 years, maybe then it's not going to be an issue. And technology is bringing that closeness between the different professionals a reality now. Even if I don't speak with you, I can change information with you, we can trade information with you, and impact the way that you are giving care to your patients, and the same goes around. So I think it's amazing that way.
I fully agree with what you tell. But I think your question, I mean, is not about, is more about the dehumanization of the care. Okay, I think, yeah, because in fact, most of these tools have the capacity of putting together, or the communication, improve the communication between the patient and the healthcare professional. Of course, we have all afraid of this dehumanization. We pass to a time that we are all the ones that are related with this field, with the focus in technology. Now we are for sure thinking into include some humanity, some human contact on this, putting together the technology and some human contact, because in fact we need that human contact. I don't want, and I'm becoming old, no, and I don't want to pass my last days or my last years of my life with the computers and sensors, or alone in a room. So we need contact too. But I think we are moving a little our perspective, the developers of this technology, to a mindset of technology for a mindset to put some of humanity and putting some human contact on it.
I would just like to stress something to illustrate what we're both saying. I think, again, this is market telling us what it is, because both healthcare professionals and patients, they don't adopt technology that don't fit their needs. So if there is no immunization, they will not use it. Also, I can tell you what some data we have from our experience. We started as a telemedicine provider, and we are market leaders in Portugal. We have a lot of experience, and we have two channels to make telemedicine. One is a call by cell phone, as a usual call, and we also have the most premium channel we use, and it's our preferred one, is video consultations. I can see the doctor in front of me. There is a really big difference in satisfaction from the patients between both channels. Not in the way they evaluate the utility of the consultation, that's very high on both, but the satisfaction result from a teleconsultation is much lower than the one with video, because with video there is a much more close human contact between patient and healthcare provider, even if it's through a screen. But immunization, it's really a driving factor on the digital transformation nowadays.
Want to comment, Dr. Lars? You have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. No, I just would like to emphasize the need, or actually the fact that digital tools will not replace the pharmacist. Digital tools will be a complement to the pharmacist's knowledge and expertise and competence. And we can never let the digital tools take over, because we need this human contact between human beings. I think that's very important to keep in mind all the time. So we need to design the tools so they complement and support us, so we can enhance our interaction with the patients.
I think we can close the session. It's already 2 minutes after time, and it's a bit late as well in the evening. So thank you very much for the availability of all of you, especially you, Lars. In Sweden is 1 hour later than in Portugal. It's not so easy to be available at this time of the evening. Thank you very much as well for all the participants, and it's I must say that it's always good to see to have so many questions and a very participative debate. We prepared a set of questions, and actually we only did the first one, so that's, I think it's a good outcome. I think it's also a topic that we should discuss further. So let's see if we can keep this topic in the agenda of our joint organizations. That's it from my side. I hope you learn some new experience, and I hope the speakers also learn from your questions. It's always good to have this exchange of views between students and professionals and the people that are actually the experts in the field. And now I give the word to Anna to say some words as well.
I don't know if Dr. Lars says some.
No, I just reflected for myself upon Sonia's comment that we could perhaps have another session where we actually can show some practical examples of tools and platforms that already are in use, like digital technologies, to reinforce the role of the pharmacists in the healthcare system, because so much has happened as well. So perhaps at some time we could highlight those tools and see what they actually mean for the patients and for the pharmacist, of course.
So I would like to thank you all for being here, especially to our speakers. It was really good and amazing to discuss about this topic. I think all the students learned something today, and that's very good. So we must certainly keep this topic in the agenda and talk more about digital health, and most of all, learn about it, because we are the future of the profession. So we must be with the knowledge to apply these digital technologies. So thank you all and have a nice night.
Thank you so very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Lars. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.